All right, and welcome to Hat-Trick Sports Talk Championship Sunday edition post show. Our final post show before the Pro Bowl. Why is that important? I don't know. It just is.
The very exciting, riveting Pro Bowl
that
on Madden.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
I'm here as always with Shane and Brandon. How are you guys doing on this Championship Sunday?
Hanging in
Unhappy.
there. What? What did you say, Brandon?
Oh, I said unhappy.
Oh,
Why is that? I think you both feel kind of roughed up by this Mahomes Brady matchup as we've been talking throughout the day. I'm super excited for this Super Bowl.
well,
This
of
is gonna be
course you
fun.
are. You're a popularist.
It's not even a popularist take. It's just because. So here's my thing.
I know. I'm
I
just messing
feel
with you.
like Mahomes and Brady is the finest football has to offer. Every game that they play is close, exciting, and honestly, just flat out ridiculous. So
Like,
the fact
okay,
that it's the Super
Robert,
Bowl just seems
oh,
insane.
Here, I'll put it this way. Like, yes, it'll probably be a good game,
No, it will be.
but here's my problem, right? Literally half of the Super Bowls in my lifetime have been Tom Brady versus someone.
Yeah, no,
And
my
it
whole life
makes
has been that
makes
case.
it a little bit better that it's not the Patriots versus someone.
I think everyone unanimously has agreed with that.
the fact that it's the Bucks versus someone featuring Tom Brady. It's like a song. It's like you have like the Bucks with guest star Tom Brady on the track. So,
Can I also say you're right about this? Because this Bucks team, while everyone's like going crazy about Brady, we've kind of harped on this throughout the playoffs, and I think this game in particular felt that way. This was not a good game for Brady.
no.
It wasn't. It was 3 interceptions, and those 3 interceptions, honestly, if the Packers got one more touchdown, it would have gone another way. Those 3 picks, I mean, you got to get those picks, obviously, from Brady, but you got to score as well. I think that's huge key how this feels different for me as well. It's like, it is Brady's team from an interest perspective, but from a core football perspective, it really isn't, because this Bucks team is more about the surrounding pieces, their receivers, and that defense that actually has been playing well throughout the postseason. Shane, your thoughts on that? Because I think that's an important distinction from a core football perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of Manning in
Denver.
right in the year that they won the Super Bowl. Not that he's that bad this year. Brady's obviously better than he was at that time, but yeah, where it's really more of the collective effort of everyone else that's kind of carrying it, but it's at the end of the day, it's a quarterback league.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter how bad they're going to be. That's going to be, the face. That's what everybody's going to,
Mm-hmm.
just like we have been, right? So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because I think that Kansas City's defense is honestly probably the worst of the teams they've played in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's not a good defense.
It's not. No,
their
it's
interceptions came off of very bad throws.
The only thing I'll say is as we talked about with the Bills last week and how that felt like the best defensive performance the Bills had, this was the best defensive performance the Chiefs had in terms of coverage.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of those sacks, a lot of things that got Josh Allen flustered was they were trying to do similar things, right? Allen was going out in the pocket, going to the left more often than not. Guys weren't open. So in terms of their secondary, this probably was their best performance of the year. I would say for the Chiefs defense as a whole, this was their best performance. But to be honest, that's probably what's going to make the Super Bowl a bit weird. And I think probably the determining factor of the Super Bowl, and we'll kind of get to some of the keys of the game and stuff as we go along. But it's going to be this Bucks offense against this Chiefs defense. That's really what it's going to come down to.
I think it's going to be offense versus offense.
Yeah, I think it'll be offense versus offense. And I think I think there will be one factor, I think, of the defense, and that will be the Buccaneers' ability or not the Buccaneers, the Chiefs' D-line ability to rush the passer.
That ain't gonna happen because Brady's gonna throw the ball like to Godwin
Yeah, but
really quickly.
You forget that Brady has a tendency to hold on to the ball longer than he should in key moments.
He showed that today too.
He will hold on to that ball, and unfortunately, it leads to him getting sacked a lot of the time. And this is a pretty good defensive line. It was better than I thought they were. They have some good pieces, and the Bills did not have a bad O-line. They had a pretty good O-line this year. And they were just kind of getting to Allen tonight, just really disrupting him, and I think that'll be a big factor in it.
Let's talk about the builds of these teams, because I think this is something that was interesting as to why Brady chose the Bucs. This Bucs team at the beginning of the year was built to beat one team, and it's the Chiefs. I mean, look at their receivers, look at the tight ends, look at even their defense to some degree. It really is built to beat the Chiefs, but it never really felt like it got to a Chiefs level at all throughout the year, even this game today. And I think that is somewhat worrisome. Shane, your thoughts on that? Because I think this Bucs team was built with the Chiefs in mind.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense too, because, we all have been kind of sitting around for the last year thinking that the Chiefs are probably going to, if not repeat, at least be a very serious contender, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of, you definitely see a lot of similarities, I think, between the two, especially on offense. They both have two pretty good running backs. They both have solid tight ends. I mean, granted, Kelsey is better than either of the.
And mostly Brate. You can't put Gronk because Gronk's mostly a blocking tight end at this point.
Right. But the two of them together, do pretty well. And then, of course, their three receivers against, like Tyreek Hill and Watkins, Cole Hardman, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so, I think defensively, Tampa has a slight edge just because they have in my opinion, the best linebacking core in the league. But besides that, it's funny because the defenses for these two teams are very different, because the Chiefs, I feel like, are really strong on the defensive line and in the secondary, but a little weak at linebacker, whereas with Tampa, I feel like it's kind of the opposite. So, yeah, but I mean, if you just look at their production throughout the year, Tampa definitely has the edge defensively, but I would say that Kansas City has the edge on offense because they just have way more speed, for starters. I mean, Tyreek Hill is a freak. And Kelsey is also, I mean, he's basically a receiver at tight end. And then, of course, Mahomes is obviously much more athletic than Brady. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be a really, really interesting game. I'm honestly more excited for Chiefs offense versus Tampa defense, as opposed to the other way around, like you were saying. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's, as much as I don't like it, it is an interesting matchup, but we'll see.
Why do you feel the same way, Brandon, in terms of the matchups?
I think I do somewhat agree with you on the more I think about this, the more I think about the Bucs, they are sort of like a mini-me version of the Chiefs. Like, they're kind of built to match. Like, you've got fast guys like Chris Godwin. You got an incredible roster of wide receivers. Pretty good tight end in Brait.
There's a
It's
running
like,
back tandem too for both of these teams,
yeah,
like Bell and Edwards-Helaire, and then
I
what they
think
have in Tampa as well.
what it's going to come down to is like which team can keep up, because they're going to have to keep trading touchdowns, and if one team falters, I think it's going to be very quickly a situation where the other team will fall out of it.
As you bring that up, I think this is the key problem I have with the Bucs in this matchup and why I'm taking the Chiefs in a close one. I'm thinking about 7 points at this point. The reason why I'm taking the Chiefs is I think the player that loses this game for the Bucs is Tom Brady.
Really?
I think we're not looking at the fact that Brady today particularly has limitations. Now, I'm not sure where I don't know, Shane or Brandon, like what are, because I do see him regressing. I'm just not sure how to pinpoint what it is in particular. But I think this game, more than anything, showed those problems. Now, obviously, most people are going to mask it and say, oh my God, Brady won that game, whatever. But again, as we talked about throughout the playoffs, it's not really Brady that's made this team what it is. I mean, in some degree it has, obviously, you don't have Jameis there and him throwing interceptions left and right. But I really do feel like the one player that's going to lose this game for the Bucs, especially if I'm picking the Chiefs, is Tom Brady. I think the Bucs, so to speak, stops with him.
I would agree with that. And I think the issue with Brady is that, I mean, the guy was never very gifted athletically. I mean, let's just be honest. But he, he's always relied on his knowledge of the game. He obviously has a very high football IQ and his ability to throw and make decisions on the fly. And I think just that, I guess his, how do I describe it? His ability to think on his feet and make proper decisions in the moment and make accurate, well-informed throws, I guess, is diminishing. That's at least what it seems like to me.
I would agree with you, Shane. And I just pulled up the 3 interceptions that he had today, and it made me remember something, Robert. You and I had a conversation, I'd say maybe week 4 or 5, about Tom Brady and his ability to throw the ball down the field.
We talked about this the first week of the season.
Yeah, it might have been the first week of the season. Yeah.
It was the first week.
We had a conversation about this and the power in his arm and how his throwing power is not there anymore. Like, he doesn't have and he's never really had that power. But he throws like he still is younger than he is, and all 3 of his interceptions were not bad looks today. They were not bad choices. They were just, he doesn't have the power to make those throws anymore, and he was throwing them, honestly, a lot like Peyton Manning, just like very high lobs, and that were just coming down really short, honestly, like either overthrows or underthrows.
Right. It wasn't even short. It was like short or long. Here's something important too that makes the way this team is constructed. And again, we talked about this earlier in the year. It is that Brady as a quarterback is not necessarily built for this offense. It just isn't. This offense is about throwing the ball deep and stuff like that. And part of the lack of decision-making that Shane mentioned, I think, was evident today. There were so many throws that were very tight, but also some of the deep passes. I mean, how many times would a safety come over the top that he wouldn't see, but he would still throw it? Or he wouldn't see it, but he would throw the ball at the end of the day. The reason why the lack of decision-making is there is partly because there is pressure on this offense. Now, maybe this wasn't the case against the Packers or against Washington, for instance, whatever. It's you don't have to think about it in terms of the teams that they play. I mean, the teams that they play, they don't need to do this, but this is part of the reason why guys like Josh Allen struggle. Remember, I talked about this with Drew Lock at, week 6 or week 7, about what playing the Chiefs does to a quarterback. And in this game in particular with the Bills, the one thing that frustrated me was, hey, why are you guys milking the clock? You're down by 10. You can't just dink and dunk on this team. And the unfortunate part is Brady's propensity or not even propensity, just what makes him the most effective quarterback is those short reads. But he's pushing himself to make those deep throws because I'm sorry, there's no way you can beat the Chiefs, especially as I said, they're going to hit another gear. And we'll get to that another gear part in a bit because I think this is another problem. But I think that's huge.
Problem. And here's the problem that they're going to have. And here's what they exposed today with Tom Brady, right? And what the Packers did. I noticed this on all three of the interceptions. They were playing off. They weren't playing super tight coverage on the deep balls. Like they were kind of having a man trailing, and it's as if they were like daring him to throw the deep balls.
The safety would come in. The safety would come in at the last second.
And be able to just grab it if it was thrown, either come over the top and get to pick it off on the overthrow or drop or be trailing or have the guy trailing him just be like, thanks for the ball. The problem is this. You can't, as you said, you can't play catch up in a boxing fight. It's basically throwing haymakers. The Chiefs come out and they throw haymakers. They are built to lead. They can come from behind, but it's very hard for them. They have to be allowed to come from behind.
That's the thing too, is there is going to be moments in this game where the Chiefs are down by 10 and they're going to find a way to come back. I mean, look at last year's Super Bowl as an example. I mean, I think the biggest thing here too, and in going to the Chiefs side as well, I wonder if it's a bit too late, because I talked about this at the beginning of the postseason. I said they need to hit that other gear, but I wonder if they hit it too late, because now in the conference championship week, we say they hit another gear. They should have hit this other gear a week ago. I wonder if it's somewhat too late.
But I don't know how that's going to
affect it.
Gear against the Bucks.
Why do you not think so?
Because this is a Chiefs team that has been scoring 30 points average in most of their games this season.
Mm-hmm.
They've averaged 24 to 30 points this season. I think if they put up 30 points on the Bucks, they win easily.
Shane, you feel the same way on that?
I don't know if I say they win easily in that scenario, but because Tampa actually had a higher average point per game this year than Kansas City did. So, which seems crazy, but it's true.
How in the playoffs was that different? Was that different in the playoffs? I wonder.
This is just the regular season. They had, I believe, Tampa had 31 and the Chiefs had 29 points per game. But regardless, this game is interesting because I could see it going many different directions. I could see it being sort of a shootout, I guess, and Kansas City scores 40 or the final score is 42 to 35 or something.
Speaking of which, I'm going to search up the over-under for this game right now.
Actually, I take back what I said about them easily winning if they put up 30, because the Buccaneers they put up 30 in every game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What does the Washington game? I guess the Washington game counts too in this case.
Yeah,
but
they put up
has one of the best defenses.
Yeah,
in the NFL.
they put 31 on Washington, 30 on the Saints, and 31 on the Packers.
Yeah.
So it could be a very close game.
And I think the Chiefs, like I said, have the worst defense of the four of them. So, I mean, Hmm.
What is the over under right now? I'm gonna see if it's up. It
I
should
would
be
guess
up.
probably 7.
And Tampa has a better defense than Buffalo.
Can you talk about the linebackers for you? Why is the linebacker so important for the Bucks in your mind?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. For starters, they play in a 3-4 set, so which means they have, if you don't know for listening, if they have 4 linebackers as opposed to most teams have 3, and so they, because of that, their role becomes a lot more versatile. You can have guys on the outside rushing the pass, blitzing. You can have guys drop into pass coverage. And the thing about their linebackers is they all have pretty unique skill sets. You got a guy like Jason Pierre-Paul who used to be a defensive end, if I'm not mistaken.
He kind of switches back and forth. He even did that in New York.
Okay, yeah. So you got him, who's a great pass rusher. We saw that today. And it's, I mean, so it's just like you have with a team like Tampa, who has the best rush defense, who is, enhanced by them, and a decent pass defense. I mean, it's not as good, but they do pretty well usually. Um, when you have all that, it's just gonna make for a situation where I feel like Kansas City's not going to be able to run the ball very well.
Have they even run the ball well at all in the postseason? Let's be honest.
That's what I mean. Like if you look at Buffalo today, okay, Buffalo has a horrible rush defense, and I mean they could barely get anything going on the ground. So I think they're pretty much going to have to rely on their pass game, and Tampa's going to have to as well, just to catch up with them because the Chiefs are freaks when it comes to their pass offense. So, that's, I don't know. I mean, I could see it being, I could see it being like 42-35 Chiefs, or I could also see the opposite of that. Tampa scores 42, Chiefs score like 30 or something.
The over-under, according to DraftKings from Action Network, is 57.5. That's a pretty good line. That's a tough one. 57.5 over-under. Opening line as of 33 minutes ago.
Over.
Brannan, your thoughts? It's
What's the line?
The line opens at 57.5 over-under total points.
Yeah, over.
That's such a good
over.
line. I think they'll just hit 60, so I'll go over. The odds for the game is Chiefs minus 3.5, which is, I think, pretty good too. That's pretty good, but that's gonna fluctuate. Always in a Super Bowl, it fluctuates. Yeah, it always fluctuates throughout the week, right? As bets come in, so it's gonna fluctuate somewhat. I imagine it's probably gonna finish as Chiefs 5.5, honestly. Because I think most bets are going to go to the Chiefs, especially on this line. So I think it probably finish at 5.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the Chiefs, but I don't think you can count out Tampa. I really don't. I mean, like I said, you just look at their previous games. This is probably the worst defense they've faced so far in the playoffs. Their offense is, despite the turnovers, their offense is doing quite well. They're being very productive, getting lots of points against good defenses. And, the Chiefs going up against a Bills defense that has been average at best this year. And they put up like the same kind of points as Tampa, a little more, but I don't know. And also, don't forget, even though he's not as good as he used to be, they have Tom, who is he's got his infinity gauntlet of Super Bowl rings. So
they've got Tom Turkey.
Yeah. So, can't count him out.
I mean, look, it depends how this. I mean, I'm tempted. If I were a betting man, I'd be tempted to take the Bucks just because
And
3.5 is pretty intriguing. The Bucks.
That's a whole nother
I think that's part of being at home does affect the line by a point or so as well. I don't know. That's interesting. Brandon, speak on that home field advantage too, because it's something we've talked about throughout the playoffs about some of the importance of home field advantage. But I think in this Super Bowl in particular, even though there's going to be 22,000 fans in the stands, like that is going to affect the game in Tampa's favor a lot, I would imagine.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of fans. However, one of the things that I think will balance it out is there's going to be a lot of medical workers there.
It's only so you have 32 teams in the NFL, 4 tickets per team, but that's I think 7,500 go to medical workers. Props for all the great work they've been doing, of course. But it's four tickets per all the 32 teams, and the rest is Tampa area. So that's
let's see that I got a problem with.
Yeah.
It's pretty BS that you're. I get that they want to have people in the stands for the Super Bowl, but it is basically for the first time we're having a Super Bowl that is not neutral site, and
obviously they can't do anything about it. This was done 3 years ago.
Right. But like
back when Tampa sucked.
That's true. That is true.
And that's the thing. If you think about the team, if you think about where they host games, a lot of the time, if you think about it, they pick sites that they're like, there's no way this team is gonna end up being in the game.
Other than New Orleans, maybe
Cardinals. Okay, I mean, but at the time they were like, there's like a very low chance that New Orleans makes it.
Miami,
Giants, Miami, now, Cardinals, New Orleans, whatever. But they would like
Houston,
Arizona,
Houston, Dallas, in some ways,
Indy,
yeah.
But like I don't know.
It's a unique circumstance. That's part of it too.
Is a unique circumstance. But then you also have the fact that they're doing the 2-day thing.
Talk about that, because this is definitely frustrating.
So
for sure.
There's going to be some backlash from this. You like I already know tomorrow it's going to be a big story, and if it's not, then someone is messing up.
Well, props to us for doing it then.
Yeah. It's so basically the NFL announced after it came out on ESPN.com.
This was like 2 days ago, though. Didn't it come out?
No, it came out today.
It came out today.
After the Buccaneers won, there was an ESPN.com article, and I'm just checking to see just to make sure that it didn't come out 2 days ago. But it came out, and it said.
I'll see if I can pull it up. Yeah.
Basically, it said that they are going to be limiting teams getting to the game to Tampa until 2 days before.
Other than, of course, the Bucks, who are going to be traveling back to leave tonight.
So, yeah, here's an article from Yahoo.com. NFL changes schedule, and this was today at 8:40. This morning at 8:45 a.m. NFL changes schedule for Super Bowl teams could give Bucks advantage. So, the winner of Sunday's AFC Championship won't arrive until at least February 5th, 2 days before the Super Bowl, which is as early as they're allowed.
So here's my problem with this, first off, before you go. One is this is the fault of the PA more so than anybody. I think the NFL as a whole, but I think more so the PA. One thing that has been very clear from the Players Association standpoint is we do not want to have a bubble. But they never came to an agreement to say, let's have a Super Bowl bubble, which would make a lot of sense. for a couple of reasons. One is my biggest concern, and we've seen this, of course, throughout the regular season, is that someone might test positive and they can move it to Wednesday. They're not going to do that for the Super Bowl. They're not going to move it to a random Wednesday afternoon. But what I'm saying is that I think there is a possibility that could happen. Now, obviously, prayers that it doesn't happen, but it could. So why would they take any chances to do this? Why wouldn't they just make them travel to Tampa on a Tuesday? I think Tuesday or Wednesday would be fair for the Chiefs. They put them in a bubble and they practice on the Tampa Bay sites as they would do a normal Super Bowl. Normally they come in on a Thursday. Let's have them come in on a Wednesday, and let's have them actually be in a bubble scenario for a week and a half.
Right.
To avoid this issue. But then again, the PA and the NFL clearly have not talked about that.
Yeah.
And I imagine that if this was announced today, the PA and the NFL would have had to agree on this as well. Yep. So that's part of it too.
And honestly, in a way, we're lucky because the Chiefs are in the middle of the country. They're not a West Coast team, so they're not having to fly from one side of the country all the way to the other side of the country. It's only half the country. It's a very short flight. But it still nonetheless gives the Buccaneers an advantage. Because if you're thinking about it, if they're flying in 2 days before, that's basically 1 day for flying, 1 day for practice.
Well, they're not going to practice at that period. Practicing period is normally the week before or early in the week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
But if you think about it, 1 day for flying in, 1 day for getting used to the I can guarantee you they're at least doing walkthroughs. They're at least doing something on the fields they're looking at the field, testing the field, seeing how it whatever. There is a huge difference, and there's also another thing we're thinking about here, right? This is Raymond James Stadium. This is the home field for the Buccaneers.
It's not going to look like it, though.
It's not going to look like it, but it is. I can tell you, as having played sports, your home court, it feels comfortable. You know how the floor bends a little bit different. You know,
you're going to be in the home locker room. You're going to still be like in that situation.
where spots on the ground kind of step differently.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm being a little crazy and paranoid about this, but it really does make a difference when it's not just neutral ground.
It does make a difference. Obviously, again, unique situation. But I think the one thing, regardless that the Bucs are playing at home, let's just ignore that for a second. My biggest problem is the fact that the Chiefs, or even if it was a different NFC team, let's say the Packers, for instance, they should not be flying in 2 days before.
Right.
They shouldn't. They should, if nothing else, fly them out Thursday or Friday or Pro Bowl weekend like they normally do. It just doesn't make sense. Shane, your thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, I mean, another big thing about all this is that, when they're doing all their training and studying and whatever the night before, resting, the Buccaneers players get to do it in the comfort of their own home.
Right.
In their own bed. Mm-hmm. Chiefs have to do it by themselves in a hotel room.
And they're going to be stuck in the hotel room. They're not going to be able to leave.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's I
don't think the Bucs are either, but I'm not sure about that stipulation yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, who wants to be in a hotel in a scenario like that when the other team gets to chill out in their crib,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said at the beginning of the season that I wouldn't put an asterisk on the Super Bowl, but honestly, if the Chiefs end up winning, or if the Bucs end up winning, there seems to be evidence that it could be asterisk worthy.
There would be a little bit.
Maybe half an asterisk.
I would say maybe a quarter. I don't think it's. I think it will make a difference, as it should. Home
Yeah.
field advantage is everything in the NFL, as it is for
Maybe
any
like a
sport.
cliff note.
Yeah, maybe I think ultimately it will be a cliff note because it's a historical cliff note at the end of the day.
It'll be like this was played with a shit ton of advantage.
No, but it's no, but I think it's funny that you bring up cliff notes because people are going to be studying Super Bowl history in classes. Like
Yeah.
Cliff note, who was the first team to play at home or
Yeah.
whatever.
That'll be trivia.
But I mean, but honestly, yeah, it's an advantage, obviously. But again, this stuff has been decided before. The only thing that makes it rough for me is just I feel a bit more concerned now because it's the Super Bowl, because we don't want any schedule mishaps. I don't know, and I hope there is some seriousness to this. Obviously, the teams are going to take it seriously, both the Bucs and the Chiefs, but I worry from an NFL standpoint how serious these protocols are going to look like for this event, particularly because luckily it hasn't happened yet, but you never know. It could get rescheduled, and I think that's a real concern. But that's the problem. If you have 2 weeks, if you're going to fly them out 2 days before, it doesn't really make sense to me. I think that the COVID thing is actually a real concern, as it has been the whole year, but this game especially, because you don't want it rescheduled. You don't want you don't want a random wide receiver playing quarterback. You don't want those issues. And I think that needs to be a real concern. And it's obviously going to be a concern from the teams, but I wonder from a league perspective how that's going to look. Because clearly that hasn't been as considered as it should, not only from the NFL side, but even the PA side, that this is even happening this way. Because the PA, I think, has some responsibility there, because I don't think this decision was made by the league without the PA's consent. If it was, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's my overall point on that.
At the end of the day, I was just kind of hoping, there's so many great players in the league right now. We could have had a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, first time in 10 years. Yeah, that would have been great. Breeze, final hoorah. Oh, that would have been cool, Or Josh Allen, the exciting up and coming new star, breakout guy this year. Oh, yeah, no. No, instead let's have Tom Brady, the same guy who's in it every freaking year, and Patrick Mahomes, the guy that was in it last year. Yeah, let's do that. Like,
Amen.
no, this is not exciting for me.
I mean, hey, I think the main point that we've stated is this does feel like a Mahomes Super Bowl in some ways, but I know nationally that's going to be the focus, Mahomes and Brady. But let's be honest, Brady with this team, it's much different than those Patriots years. It just is. So it's not as similar as it.
It's still
looks
Brady,
on the
and I don't
surface.
like him. He's a
Hey,
dick.
Stop it. He's a goat to me. He's a legend either way. And he just expanded that legend today. Let's get to the Packers real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a couple of, okay. First off, this is something you guys talked about throughout the postseason. I think now is the perfect time, and I think the perfect merit to have an honest discussion about this, because I, someone who's very much a guy who's pretty comfortable with officials, pretty comfortable with how they call games. I thought this Chiefs game was called really well. Even as someone who maybe is a bit more pro-official in some ways, or at least gives some benefit of doubt, I certainly had an issue with how this game was called. But you guys have had issues throughout the year, but this game in particular, what were your guys' issues? Because I'm pretty sure I have the same issues. Shane, your overall thoughts on that?
It was. They were letting them play, quote unquote, which is great, but you still have to, like, you still gotta be on top of stuff when it actually happens. So the issue that I had with this game, that it seemed like there were a lot of no calls that went in Tampa's favor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every single time there was a replay, someone on the Tampa's O line would be holding, didn't call it, multiple defensive holdings, pass interference, no. But then, I don't know. yeah. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but Tom Brady paid them off. But
I don't think so. Although
I'm
I will
kidding.
say this.
I'm
I will
joking.
say this. Players have made this point, and I think it's accurate. I think the longer you're in the league, regardless of which, I mean, even let's look at cadences. For guys like Russell, guys even like Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, there is a lot of leeway to those guys, even from a cadence perspective. I think that was part of it. I am a huge proponent of let them play. I'll get to a few specific calls in a bit, but Brandon, give me your thoughts on the officiating in this game because it was rough.
Yeah, it was rough, and it felt like a situation yet again where Tom Brady benefited from calls. And I do think a lot of it has to do with him being in the league for a long time, and he's a veteran player. And I think sometimes refs are going to be like, oh, he's a veteran player, he knows what he's doing, whatever, we're not going to call it. Which is unfortunate because, you're the refs, do your damn job.
Okay, so my first thing was the interception by Sean Murphy Bunting. That was clearly a hold. And he got in front of him because he was holding him. I thought that was brutal. I know people have talked about the last play where he was holding him. Did they call it PI on that or a hold?
Hold, I believe.
Did they? Because I think some people thought it was PI. I think the hold was the right call there. One of the weirdest parts about this game for me was the sort of let them play model, and I'm sure when we talk about the Super Bowl afterwards, especially in the Super Bowl, that let them play model is very evident. In terms of how the game is played, the Super Bowl as it stands as a whole, if you watch last year's Super Bowl, years past, it is very, very common for the NFL or the officials as a whole to give them a lot of leeway. That's something to pay attention to as you're watching the Super Bowl because it is very evident. But this was a bit too much. There is a benefit to not having a lot of penalties, but the merit in which that occurred, where it felt like there was no penalties for a whole half, felt like a little much because, as Shane, you pointed out, there was holding. I think even on both sides that was the case. I am a proponent of let them play, but there needs to be a default towards that. Am I right about that, Shane? Like, did it feel like a bit too much in your mind?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Because they're like, yeah, I definitely. I mean, as you guys know, there'll be a situation where I'm like, there's somebody who, will hit a quarterback or a player like half a second too late, and they call a flag. And I'm like, what the hell is this? But when there's so many just blatant penalties happening and you just continue to let it slide, it's like, what are we doing here? It's like, why, and then why was it that holding call at the very end? I mean, that was barely hold. I mean, he barely grabbed the guy's jersey, and then that was a flag.
I mean, he did impede him from getting to the ball. If he didn't hold him, he wouldn't have got there. Like, I get what you're saying, though.
That's what I mean. Like, why was that a penalty? But then there was.
Mm-hmm.
Why was the Sean Murphy Bunting call not called if that was called? Like,
yeah, countless other situations just like that weren't called. It's just weird to me. But
I thought that the limited amount of penalties, there is again, as I said, in the Super Bowl, you're going to see this. It's a very commonplace thing, but it felt like there was just too little. almost, or like it really felt like that was the case, because I've never seen a game go that fast and you immediately going, yeah, there's not enough penalties in the game. I think ultimately that was the crux for me. Brandon, your thoughts on that, like how limited the penalties were? Do you kind of agree with me on that piece?
I mean, I don't know if I would say the game. I don't know if I would say there was limited penalties. I mean, there wasn't a ton of penalties, but like there still seemed like there were slightly more than you see in a normal game. But at the same time, I feel like they could have called more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
that's how I guess that's how, overall maybe a better way to point how I felt. I just thought there wasn't as much, but overall, yeah, there should have been more called for sure.
Yeah,
I think you're definitely right on that. Let's talk about the future for some of these teams, or for these teams that lost in the Bills and the Packers. Packers' future looks very interesting at this point. First, the field goal decision.
yeah. Aaron Rodgers did not look very happy with that.
I was very frustrated with this because, let's be honest, this is Tom Brady. Regardless of what we think about Brady, the fact that you're not going for it in that situation, hey, if you mess it up, who cares? People aren't going to be upset with you at that. But here's LaFleur saying he regrets it in hindsight. This is from Ryan Wood on Twitter. It was just a circumstance of having 3 shots and coming away with no yards, and not only needing a touchdown, but the 2-point conversion. He thought of having 4 timeouts to get a stop, 3 plus the 2-minute warning, and the defense was battling at the time that the field goal would make sense. Brandon, your thoughts on sort of that regret in hindsight? I've never seen a coach be so adamant in regret.
I always believe that if you're in a situation like that, you should go for it should be a 4 and outs. It should be use all 4 of your downs to go for the touchdown. Mm-hmm. Because you are always going to be in a situation where you're going to regret it. Either you're going to be angry or you're going to be talking to the press and saying, "Oh, I regret kicking the field goal." You could always get the field goal later. If you're in a situation where you need a touchdown and a touchdown and a field goal, always go for always go for the touchdown first. Pick up the field goal later. It's so much easier to get the field goal than the touchdown. Mm-hmm. It felt like a McCarthy situation all over again.
Yeah.
Like, and Rodgers was just like, if you look at the way he's talking, some people are saying like, oh, that I saw some people online saying like, oh, that sounded like a goodbye interview. Some people are saying, oh, maybe he'll go to San Francisco. I think those people are projecting. I think those people are crazy. I don't think there's a chance in hell that he would leave the good thing he has in Green Bay to go to San Francisco. In fact, I think this season may have finally convinced his GM to get off their ass and get him a piece in the first round.
Hopefully.
Because
on offense and defense.
Right, because if they don't, again, what the hell are they doing? This is a team.
Watch them draft a 4th running back.
Right. Like, this is a team that came very close to the Super Bowl. I believe they are literally one wide receiver away from having the best offense in the NFL. They were that good this year.
Yeah,
I don't even think receiver is their biggest issue. I mean, I know that's the popular thought, but I think.
Do you really think he likes Lazard and MVS?
Well, no. I mean, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, Lazard's great. I mean, Marquise Scanlon's great. Valdez is great. But like, it's kind of like how it was in Seattle before we got DK. You know, it was like we had Tyler and then we had 2 scrubs. Now we have Tyler, we have DK, and we have everybody else.
It forces Russell, and I think you're right, that Aaron Rodgers kind of does the same thing where it forces him to make the receivers play better than they actually are. just because of who they are as a quarterback. That's sort of their identity with
Right.
Rodgers and Wilson about making receivers better. And that helps to guys like Devontae and DK and Lockett, of course. But
I would agree with Shane. Like, I believe they should go out and get a guy on defense and a guy on offense. The question is, which guy do they go for? I personally think if they're smart, they would go for the guy on offense to appease Aaron Rodgers, who's been asking for another guy on offense for the last, 3 years.
mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I just think that they really screwed up taking Jordan Love.
Yeah, no, obviously. I mean, he's not going to be I don't think he's not going to see the field ever. I think.
And you're paying. Well, here's the thing. I'm hopeful we get preseason because I just want to watch him play in a real game. Like that's my problem with him is that I just have yes, we've seen training camp tape and it's not that impressive, but I haven't seen this guy play. He's been inactive all year, and that's the most concerning part is the fact that he's not even the backup.
Apparently he was missing the pockets on the training,
right?
Like pocket passing.
There was footage of that.
Yeah, there was footage of him missing. I said that all the way back at the beginning of the year before we even started the season, that he was missing the pockets on the pocket throwing machine. Bro, you got drafted in the first round. You are being paid first round money, player money, which is millions.
Bottom first is not that bad, but it's still bad.
Millions.
Still bad.
And this guy could go down as the biggest bust ever.
The problem I
wouldn't go that far. But...
Well, hang on. Here's the thing. The problem I have with Jordan Love is theoretically, especially after this year, Rodgers can play another 5 years. You know how long Jordan Love's contract is? 4 years now if they accept the option. I think one of the craziest thing could happen where they just don't accept his 4th year option, just riding on the bench. And look, it's not only the fact that that he's there, it's the fact that they're paying him first round money. That's cap money that they can't lose, especially with the cap going down. That's a huge
with all the other players they have that they're gonna have to re-sign at some point,
and that they've already paid.
Right, and I personally think what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna see Aaron Rodgers through his contract. Maybe give him another. Is his contract coming up?
It's no. I think he has 3 years left.
He has 3 more years.
4 years. Yeah.
4 years. I could see it just being a situation where Rodgers plays out his 4 years, retires, and they have to pick up a veteran for a year.
If it's oh my god, it's just the whole idea of Jordan Love sitting on the bench for 4 more years or for 3 more years, whatever it is, 3, 4, and then picking up his option and starting him on his option year. That just sounds disgusting.
Honestly, you know what I see happening? I see them trading him to a team that really, really needs a backup or needs a starter.
Yeah, that could happen.
Someone I don't know. Cincinnati or
Cincinnati.
Well, I mean, Cincinnati for a backup.
Backup,
but I don't even know because we have Stafford too. That's gonna go and all this stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah, but Stafford's not going to go to the Packers. He's not
the Packers. I'm just saying the carousel is already going.
Right, it's a deep carousel.
Yeah.
I heard something. Speaking of Stafford, I heard a rumor. I don't remember who said this, and it's probably not true, but this is an interesting thought of a potential 3-way trade. Okay.
3-way trades? What is this? The NBA?
I know, right? No, think about this though. Jimmy G. to the Patriots.
Okay.
Cam Newton to the Lions.
Cam Newton cannot be traded. That cannot happen, Shane. Cam Newton cannot be traded. He's an unrestricted free agent. That cannot occur.
Okay.
Unless they do a sign and trade. But I don't think that's even plausible under NFL clauses.
Okay, well, imagine he's still under contract with them. He gets traded to the Lions, and then Stafford to San Francisco.
I would love to see Stafford in San Francisco.
I think Stafford needs to be in, and he's not.
I want to see him in Indy.
Same. I think he would thrive in Indy because Stafford is kind of just the way that Phillip Rivers kind of thrived in that offense. I feel like Stafford would thrive in like a.
I think they'd win 12 games, honestly.
I had another team on my head and I forgot who it was. The Bears, maybe? I think the Bears would be a fun option just because that defense is so good.
New Orleans?
New Orleans. That was my other team.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
Here's the thing. Stafford needs to go to a team with a strong O-line. Because he gets hurt he gets hurt pretty easily.
He just needs a good organization, which is not in the Motor City.
Even though Dan Campbell wants to rip off some kneecaps.
Yeah, he wants to be alive.
That was the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I forgot to pull up the clip. So basically he said something.
Yeah.
He basically said, like, we want to take on the identity of the city and we're going to, like, rip off some kneecaps.
Yeah, he was like, you're going to knock us down. We're going to get up and bite off your kneecaps. You're going to knock us down. It's going to take 2 more hits to knock us down.
He just kept going with that.
Up. Yeah, and I'm like, what?
We'll
and
take off a 4th kneecap.
And then someone like, he's like, we're going to bite your elbows off. And then someone retweeted it saying, like, this sounds like a 7 and 9 speech to me.
Oh my God. So let's do some NFL history really quick.
Ooh.
Since Shane talked about 3-way trades, the largest trade in NFL history, of course, is the Herschel Walker trade.
Yep.
This was a 3-player trade. 18 players were involved in this one. The Herschel Walker trade, including picks, of course.
Jeez.
And then the second is a 15-player trade from 1953. Holy crap.
Was Jimmy Johnson involved in that?
Yeah.
Yes, that was the Jimmy Johnson base deal there, Herschel Walker.
How Minnesota agreed to this? I don't even know.
Also, do you remember that? Do you remember that trade? Oh my God. It's a New Orleans Saints trade where the Saints traded their whole draft for the first overall pick.
The first overall pick.
What player was that? Oh my God.
It was
I forgot. They traded their whole draft for one player. And then this basically started the Cowboys winning a bunch of Super Bowls, essentially. I have to search that up. But so 3-player trades have happened in NFL history.
Ricky Williams.
Yes, Ricky Williams. I should pull up that trade because that trade is legendary.
They traded every player.
Every pick.
They traded to Washington. They traded their 12th in the first, 71st in the third, their 4th, their 5th, their 6th, their 7th, and then their 1st and 3rd in 2000.
Oh my God, LeVar Arrington was the 2nd-round pick in this. Oh my God. Well, I'll say this: I think that they lost that trade. The Saints did. They traded their whole draft in. No team really got anything too special, but that's a legendary one. Wait, the Redskins traded the 12th overall pick. Yeah. Oh no, the Redskins used that pick to acquire Champ Bailey. Oh my God. All right, bro. Jesus. Oh my God. All right, so that's some quick NFL trivia. So long term for the Packers. Or some NFL history, I should say. Long term for the Packers, let's see. Aaron Rodgers had some really interesting comments tonight about that a bunch of our futures are undecided, including myself. Is how much of a percentage do you guys put on Jordan Love being the starter in 2021 for the Green Bay Packers? Is there even a percentage chance here?
Oh, for him being... Wait, Jordan
Love being the starter in 2021.
0.01%.
I think it's about 10.
Really?
I think I think Aaron's comments say something about where not only him and LaFleur are, but also that entire organization. I don't think we can ignore the comments. My other question is, who else goes out the door there?
Mm.
Why would it not only be him? Why would he say other players? Who are those other players? I'm really confused by that statement or that part of it.
Well, Aaron's not exactly in a position to leave if he's in a 4-year contract.
That contract is tradable, I would say. Most contracts are more tradable than
Well,
you think.
New Orleans, I mean, the Packers could be like, screw you, buddy. You're playing out your contract.
Yeah. I think it's more of a front office thing. I wonder how much the front office wants Love to play next year.
Why would they? Why?
That's my question. I don't know why, but I think it's I don't know
There's
how
a
realistic
chance.
it is, but again, like I really feel like the organization internally is ready to move on. Why wouldn't they make the pick if they're not?
Here's the thing. The Vikings, the Lions, and the
Bears would be happy.
Bears would all be thrilled. They would all be having a party. They'd be like, "Oh wait, you're starting Jordan Love instead of Aaron Rodgers? Okay."
And no Matt Stafford.
Exactly.
No Matt Stafford. And
sure, we'll win the division.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for Stafford and for Rodgers, but more for Stafford. Most of the QB issues are internally in their division, so they're not going to make an interdivisional trade.
Right.
So that limits both their options if they're wanting to leave too.
Like I heard the one was like, oh, maybe Rodgers would go to San Francisco. Here's the problem. San Francisco doesn't have the cap space.
Well, if they put Garoppolo,
nope.
Maybe McKinnon.
They don't have the cap space. They filled up.
Leaving.
They filled up. They have so much of their cap put into their defense.
Yeah.
Put into these players. They don't have the space. They would have to drop a ton of players, a ton of their big players on defense to even make up for that. And even then, they owe guaranteed money to these players.
Right.
So it wouldn't work.
For San Francisco, why do you think, at least from a media circle perspective, I mean, obviously everything kind of gets leaked and it goes to the media. Why do you think every year, last year, this year, I think a couple of years, I guess more so last year than the year before, but why do you think they've constantly been kicking the tires about their quarterback position? Why do you think this is still a story at this point, considering their cap situation?
I mean, I think
they don't have money to give to a good quarterback. Like,
I mean, are they not fully committed to him at all?
To who?
To Garoppolo.
Well, I truly don't think they believe in Garoppolo fully. And they certainly didn't believe in him fully this year after the failure that was the Super Bowl.
Shane, your thoughts? Why is this still in media circles now? Why does this still exist?
Because the only real reason that I think it was a conversation last year is because Brady was on the market. And so people were kind of wondering, like, would they maybe go after him instead? But other than that, it was kind of like, it didn't really seem like anything serious to me, at least. But now this year, after the colossal fail that was the 49ers season, and him being hurt for half of it at least, people are like, okay, this is, the third year of the 4 he's been here that he's missed most of the season. We're spending all this money on him. Like, what are we doing? We can't keep doing this. And I think that they should move off of him. I don't think that you can really build a solid base around him. He, when he's healthy, he's good. He's a winner. He wins a lot of games. That much is obvious. But you just can't rely on that. I mean, he's only played one full season, and that was their Super Bowl year. So I don't
So
know.
you
I mean,
can win around him. The thing is how realistic it is that they do it twice.
well, yeah, because that's also assuming that he's healthy, which most of the time he's not, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe they do keep him, but I kind of doubt it at this point. I see him either being released or traded somewhere or whatever. But we'll see. We will see.
I think
The
they
quarterback.
missed the dead cap date, right? The dead cap date was last year for him.
I don't know.
I believe
Well,
so.
anyways,
Correct?
the quarterback market this offseason is going to be insane. So we'll see. But
The one quarterback that makes this market the craziest in 2021 is Deshaun Watson. He
yeah.
has reportedly released his list of teams that he wants to go to, or at least the top two from what I've seen. Number 1, New York Jets. Number 2, Miami Dolphins.
I can tell you which of those it's going to be.
It's going to be the Jets at this point.
Yeah. Yep. Think about I think he works much better in Miami, but they say that they're committed to Tua. Don't really know why, but
I'm fine that they're committing to Tua. I'm fine. But the problem is there's a quarterback named Deshaun Watson out in the market, and you're at a point where you can actually win a Super Bowl. That's where the problem is.
Tua, I don't think he's that good. I'll be honest.
Can we watch him one more year, please?
No, that's the thing. I want to watch a full season with him as a starter, not the whole lingering question of who the starter is, him or Fitzpatrick, whatever. I want to see Tua just start, be the guy for the full season, and see what happens. Because this year, I mean, he was benched multiple times. I mean, he never he doesn't. He throws a good ball, but he's not there's nothing really special about him. He's not he's just a very plain generic player to me.
The one word for me with him that describes his 2020 season is, or not the one word, but the basic slogan for his 2020 season was he couldn't finish.
Right.
He just couldn't.
Yeah.
And that's why Fitz was in. I know, Brandon, you spoke about this adamantly throughout the year. I think that was definitely appropriate to think about that. But I do want to ask you about the Jets piece of this from Deshaun Watson. The main thing that we've talked about, or at least I've mentioned, is this idea that I think he needs to go to a contender. How immediate are the Jets on the Super Bowl contender ladder for next year if that trade goes through and he goes to the Jets with Saleh? Are the Jets a contender or no? Because I feel like they're not even in the hitting the bubble territory.
I feel like they're barely a playoff contender.
I think they're a playoff contender if they get him with Saleh. I think here's what they do, right? You get Deshaun. You go into the draft. You use your second pick.
And they won't have the second pick. They're going to trade that.
True. Yeah.
They're going to trade most of their draft.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, not gonna lie, you're gonna be a little rough the first year.
They're gonna trade the farm on picks. They just are.
They need O-line more than anything.
Yeah. I don't know if they can really afford to get. Because I was gonna be like, if they could get Penei Sewell and Deshaun,
we're living a life here,
right? Because then you have like two young, really good linemen.
Becton, who you love, and
I love
Penei
Becton,
Sewell. And then Penei
except
Sewell.
for the fact that they tried to murder him this year by playing him when he was hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's my thing. This team is not that bad on paper. Like it's like towards the end of the year they were playing pretty well together. They have some nice wide receiver pieces. They have decent O-line. Their defense is atrocious. That's where a lot of the work needs to come from. And I think that's one of the reasons why they brought in Saleh. Because he could really work on that defense.
Give that team energy too. That's
right.
huge.
I think that's one of the things. Like their last guy was not a good leader.
Oh, Adam Gase. No, jeez.
To be a head coach, you have to be a leader. You have to have energy. You have to be able to get your team riled up. And think of Torts, Robert. Think about Tortorella in the NHL.
Oh, I don't like Tortorella because he's a bit
Tortorella.
Dude,
he's an asshole, but he gets his players going. He's like.
Are we gonna talk about that trade that happened? I think we should talk about this trade.
About that trade, but it's you and I are the only one who are gonna know what the heck is going on. Shane's gonna be like, "What?"
We need to talk about that trade. That was nasty.
It was a pretty great trade. It did, but to end my point,
hockey.
Let's get to that at the end of the show.
To end my point, like I don't know, to be honest. I think long term, Deshaun brings a lot to them, right? I think short term, the Jets are going to have to suffer through another season. However, I do believe Deshaun Watson brings them up maybe to 7 wins.
They're a playoff team.
I think
the bottom end of the AFC.
I think 7 wins maybe with like because here's the difference. A good quarterback can do everything to change a bad team. I mean, think about it. Like, everybody's talking about Trevor Lawrence as if he's supposed to be this god. And it's like, okay, are you assuming he's going to come? Okay, are you assuming that this hippie-looking dude is going to come into the Jaguars, a team that's trash on offense, and just like become really good all of a sudden?
They're not going to get 10 wins their first year. They're going to win like 5 or 6, maybe less.
But my point is, Deshaun Watson is better than Travis, so I would say 7.
You don't think they can? You don't think the Jets can win 10 games with Deshaun Watson?
Well, not their first season. Not with the team they have. I think 10 is way too much.
I feel like 10 is where I'm going
to especially in the AFC East.
Yeah.
Where you got Buffalo, Miami, who already has 110, and New England, who is probably going to be better next year.
Yeah, they're going to have a better quarterback probably.
And they're going to have the COVID list guys back, hopefully.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess with that division, it makes sense that like 7 probably more fair. It makes the division more fun too. But again, my main problem with this is like, okay, so you're just basically going to go into the exact same situation as Houston, but with a better coaching staff.
That's what I don't understand.
It doesn't. But here's the thing: it's not the same as Houston. Houston was a miserable pit of despair. Houston had in that situation, he was stuck in a situation where he had no control over the coach, over the GM, over anything. He was stuck in a spiral, and I believe that's one of the reasons he wants out, because he wants to go somewhere where he's respected, I believe. You know, there is no respect there. Like,
that's true. That's
all his pieces were traded away, like
for dimes on the dollar.
It was like a yard sale. It was a yard sale, basically.
Still there, and they got Deshaun Watson.
No, Jamal Adams was.
He made the right move to go to Seattle.
Jamal
Adams
I know, but I'm saying, imagine if that happened. That'd be interesting.
Oh, with the Jets?
Yeah, imagine if he was still in the Jets, and then they got Deshaun Watson.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But my point is this: like, the respect is not there, and respect a lot of the time is something that's overlooked in the NFL. Yeah. So I think some with a lot of players, you have to really stop and think, like, what do players really? What motivates some players? Some players it's all about money. Some players it's all about
the chips.
Fame. Some players it's all about rings. Some players it's about respect. Put some respect on my name for some players. So I think for Deshaun, it's a I've been carrying your asses for the last 3 years. You ain't put no respect on my name. You ain't giving me no one to work with. I'm out of here.
And I get sacked 56 times a year.
Right. I'm literally bruised to high heaven. Like, I'm dead. I'm dying. I'm, like, hurt. And you don't care. I'm out. Peace.
I mean, I guess that is the most important thing. But, like, if you're Deshaun, the time to win is now. I don't think you can go – yeah, the coaching staff is going to respect him more. But I just feel like it's the exact same situation just with the coaching staff that respects him and wants to build around him. But how long is that really going to be? If he wants to go to a Super Bowl, it's now. And Miami gives him the best shot.
Maybe he just wants. Yeah, but they're not going to start him over. If Miami has made it very clear that for whatever reason they're sticking with Tua.
If I'm Miami and if I'm Houston, why does it not make any sense in the world for both parties if we can figure out a deal that includes Tua, that includes Deshaun Watson, includes a bunch of picks, and we got Deshaun Watson in Miami?
I think Tua is destined to be a backup in the NFL.
Maybe.
Like he reminds me a lot of Marcus Mariota. Like he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that extra oomph to really, like, he was great in college, but he's just kind of like baseline in the NFL. To succeed in the NFL, you have to have a spark. You have to have some sort of thing that's like, look at me, I'm great.
What made in your guys' mind, not only from Tua's play this year, but also like the situation that he was where he didn't start most of the year? How, I mean, from the situational perspective is obviously different, but why do you think Herbert and Burrow were able to have that spark right away compared to Tua? Because I think that's like a massive reason as to why he's kind of in this spot now.
So for me, Herbert and Tua,
or Herbert and Burrow.
Herbert and Burrow,
my bad there.
Were leaders in college. They led their team. Mm-hmm. They were step-up guys. They were the guys who took charge and stepped up to the front of the line. I'm sure Tua tried to do that, but unfortunately he was hurt for a lot of the time. And when you're hurt, you can't exactly be a guy who's like rah rallying your team. So I think Herbert and Burrow had that experience of being like, you get knocked down, you get back up, you keep playing, you win, you lose, whatever. We play as a team. And there's just something about them that, like, they're unflappable. Like, think about Burrow. Like, he got pummeled. And he never looked like he wanted to quit.
He was battered.
Right. There's been so many rookie quarterbacks I've seen in the NFL who have just gotten destroyed every game, and they just look like they get the life knocked out of them in terms of their spark to play. Herbert and Burrow never had that. Tua didn't have it to begin with, in my opinion.
That's like a big thing too, as well. I mean, just besides the mental aspect, Herbert and Burrow are much better athletes than Tua is. They're just bigger, stronger guys. They're faster, more. They're much more able to do well on play action and scramble and improvise. And I mean, quite frankly, I think they just throw the ball better than him, anyways. Especially Herbert. So, yeah, it's a long, large combination of things. But yeah,
do you guys feel the way I do that this is Miami's window to make a Super Bowl? This is it. 3-4 years. This is it. Do you think this is the actual window for them? Because I think it is.
I mean, maybe. It depends on what happens with their defense, because their defense is young and they're really good right now. But then, in a few years, they're going to start wanting to get paid. And then
That's why I'm saying the window is now.
right.
I feel like it's now.
Yeah, no. I agree. It's if you're looking at it in that regard, which is another reason why they should go for Deshaun Watson, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Brandon, you've been a Miami guy all year. Do you agree with me? Do you think their window is 3-4 years and that's it? Do you think this is their window right now?
No. I think they need to make some certain moves, and if they make those moves, I think it could set them up for the future. For one, they need to get themselves a quarterback that can lead their team. As much as I love Fitzmagic, he ain't the answer.
He ain't the future.
Ain't the future. He's pretty much the past at this point. I'm kind of shocked he's still around.
He's the 7th overall pick in our draft, so that's his legacy. I ain't lying about that.
They need to work on their O-line. Those two things, if they get that done, I think they could, because their defense is set, in my opinion. There's maybe a couple more pieces to really.
It's not amazing, but it is good.
They can always add more to it, but I believe that's a defense that can take you to not to the Super Bowl, but to the playoffs. But I felt like they need playmakers.
On defense, they got so many picks.
No, on offense.
On offense, yeah.
If I was them, I would either use some of your draft picks to go and try and get Deshaun, even though he's gonna probably go to the Jets, or you say we're gonna ride with Tua and go get a wide receiver,
a stud one,
like a stud, like a superstar.
And there's so many in the draft. Like Devontae can be that, but he really hasn't shown that.
Maybe, I don't know. You go and you get, just a thought, a wide receiver that played with Tua at Alabama. He's pretty great.
Won the Heisman.
He just won the Heisman.
No big deal.
Probably won't be picked by the time you pick at 3rd.
Or you can trade down and probably get him too. I don't know if I'll go that high. Let's talk about let's talk about the saga of the Houston Texans, the Deshaun Watson's, what's appearing to be his former team at this point or in a few months' time. Houston, this is the least desirable coaching job of my lifetime. I have never seen a coaching job be so undesirable that their backup quarterback that is currently under contract with them just had an interview with them this week in Josh McCown. This job has literally no interest, zero. And I've never, ever seen that before. Shane, your thoughts on why this position is so undesirable?
Well, because, for lack of a better way to describe it, everything is just kind of going to hell with that organization. I mean, you got, your star player, your one knight in shining armor of hope is, wants out of there. And then, outside of that, what do you have? Nothing, really. You got a terrible O-line. You got J.J. Watt, who's good, but he's hurt half the time.
He's going to go too.
And that's the thing.
He's going to go too.
And besides that, you have, one decent linebacker. Will Fuller is pretty good, but he might leave as well.
I imagine he'll leave. I think he should go to Green Bay.
Cooks is good.
Cooks is their future at the position. Yeah. He's not getting traded again.
Yeah.
So you just kind of left with nothing. And
you just have so many. Really the problem with franchise. They have so many holes, and what's weird is this is a Texans team that, if you remember, last year had a 24-0 lead on
the Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
On the champs, yeah.
It's like this team was leading 24-0 And I think, honestly, them losing that game might have broken their team.
One guy broke that team, and it's Bill O'Brien.
Well, I mean, I would also argue that, losing a game when you're up 24-0 is like,
Par for the course.
Shit.
Yeah, no, I think this is 100% Bill O'Brien's fault, but whatever.
I think that the Texans' job should be more desirable because you trade J.J. Watt, what do you get back in return?
A lot.
Picks.
Yeah.
Picks. What do you trade Deshaun Watson? What do you get in return?
Picks.
High value picks if it's the Jets, even the Dolphins.
Well, you could arguably trade Deshaun to the Jets and say, I want the second overall pick this year.
You can ask for 5 picks.
Yeah, you could say I want your I want your first round this year, I want your second round this year, I want your third round this year, I want your first next year and your second next year.
Yeah.
And right away there you got like at least 3 superstar players.
Potentially.
Because potentially you guaranteed have superstar players. If you draft right, you have in the first 2 since you have a first in this year, first next year. Those are 2. Unless you're picking some schmuck, which I mean, come on, I mean it's Houston, so like there's very high likelihood that they're going to pick a schmuck, but that's a very good pick to have. The question is, are the Jets going to be like, yes, here, we're going to send our house over?
They will do that if they want them.
They're dumb, though.
I don't think that's that dumb.
I always feel like it's dumb to make a trade like that where you're giving away a first, second, third, and a first and a second. That's basically saying we don't want to get anybody.
So you think that New Orleans trade was pretty bad then?
Yeah, I do, because it was Ricky Williams and he ended up playing like 4 years for New Orleans or something.
Yeah, pretty much the whole what would have been a rookie contract. So here's my pitch. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, if I'm Josh McCown, if I'm Leslie Frazier, who's the defensive coordinator for the Bills, who's also in consideration for the job at this time, I'm going into that room and saying, hey, look at what Miami did. Let's do the same thing. Miami has created the rebuild blueprint. The Browns even created a blueprint of how to rebuild. Draft picks.
They trade away all their good players.
They trade away picks, get draft picks, and rebuild from there. That's exactly what I'm pitching.
Yeah, but you have to have a good GM to be able to do that.
Well, I think the head coach has to hire the GM. So I don't think they actually have a GM currently, too. So that's the blueprint. I would go in there and say, that's my plan. And let's trade Deshaun, and let's trade JJ, and let's get those picks.
You could get to be honest,
is that a bad pitch?
I mean, trading JJ
and have to do that.
Honestly, you kind of go. You know what you should do? You should just go trade Deshaun to the Jets and JJ to the Jaguars, get everybody's picks, and then just reap the benefits.
Yeah, I guess.
Have the first and second pick in the draft.
2022 draft. Roger Goodell. For the Jets are on the clock with the first overall pick. They make their selection. Second overall pick. The Texans are on the clock with the Texans are also on the clock with the second.
Third overall pick. Texans.
How bad does that trade look now that the Dolphins have the third overall pick instead of the Texans?
Really bad.
Holy crap.
I imagine JJ Watt will either go to
Pittsburgh?
Bay, or
I think he goes to the Steelers.
Or Pittsburgh, yeah.
See, I don't want him to go to Pittsburgh because I think that kind of terrifies me of Watt going to the Steelers.
The Watts.
But at the same time, like, JJ Watt, I feel like is going to retire any day now. Because he's just like, he's played for a long time.
He's been battered up too.
And he's injured. I mean, I would like him to win a Super Bowl because he deserves it because he's like one of the best linebackers to ever play the game.
Defensive ends.
Yeah, well,
I think both.
I think of him as a linebacker. He looks like a linebacker.
He's play linebacker too.
Imagine JJ Watt on the Seahawks.
I don't think that's not realistic with our cap situation.
Yeah, but just imagine for a second. How glorious that would have been.
Oh my
I think if he wants to win, he should probably go to Green Bay. That'd be his best shot.
Wisconsin
Yeah.
hometown.
Yeah,
I could see that.
but I don't know. They definitely need a piece defensively. So that would
Who do you
help,
think
but
What do you think Green Bay would trade back though?
Jordan Love.
Jordan
Maybe.
Love,
I don't know.
one of what
Just
is
a
it?
thought.
One of their linebackers. I think the Smith Bros.
Yeah.
Bros. Whatever.
I don't think they're gonna separate the Smith Bros.
They could. I don't know.
I think
It's
a couple picks, Love,
Clark,
and
maybe.
maybe.
It could get a valuable.
Adams.
I was about to say that. Rodgers is like, that's it. I'm done. I'm out.
Trade me.
Jamal
Do a
Williams,
swap with
I don't
Deshaun
know.
Watson.
Send me to Houston.
So my case is I think that this job is actually more desirable than it should be, or like that it being not desirable is stupid because you're actually going to have a lot of flexibility with the trades that you make.
You're just gonna
Yeah.
have to be very patient for a while.
Yeah.
If you're a Houston fan, you are once again having to hear the words, just be patient. And you're like, I've been patient for how long?
Since we drafted David Carr first overall and became an expansion team.
Exactly.
Well, it's all right. You still have your baseball team that
Cheats.
is gonna suck now.
Yikes. All right. Let's talk about. Oh, before we get to, I want to do some UFC stuff and we'll do some NHL stuff to finish out. Maybe some NBA as well. But I did want to talk about the Pro Bowl. Shane, is this the year to cancel the Pro Bowl, or do you have like another idea of how the Pro Bowl should work 2022 and beyond?
Well, the thing about it is, it has no reason to exist anyways. I mean, really, like, what do we gain from it? Like
Some fun drills.
but like in other sports, right? There's usually some kind of incentive to it. Like at least in baseball, if the say the American League wins it, then the American League team gets home field advantage in
The World Series.
the World Series,
which I hate, but whatever.
Yeah, but like
Separate
it's a
topic for a
reason-
separate day.
but it's a reason for you to want to go out there and win it,
Yeah.
and it feels like it actually means something. But for the football Pro Bowl, there's like you don't get anything out of it. There's no kind of reward. I mean, there's a cash reward. It's $50,000, which for an NFL player, that's like $20, but
It's chunk change.
yeah,
It's chunk change.
So I mean, it's like, and it doesn't give the Super Bowl team home field advantage or something. Not that you're gonna be going to the Super Bowl anyways if you're at the Pro Bowl, So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I think the best part, at least to me, about the Pro Bowl is not the game, but it's like the fun, skill challenges or whatever that they do during the week.
Yeah, it's on Thursday normally.
Yeah, like the dodgeball game or the precision passer, like the obstacle course, like that stuff is cool. I like that, because it's like, yeah, I'd like to see the NFL's best just having fun doing stuff like
Play
that.
Dodgeball.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Like
it's always fun to see like defensive players who spent the season trying to like destroy these quarterbacks, like whipping dodgeballs at their heads.
Yeah, I know. And then you see that it's like, dang, some of these guys have arms. You forget that since they're not a quarterback, yeah, they too can throw a ball just like one of us can. But yeah, anyways, and you got someone like Jarvis Landry going off.
Brandon, your thoughts on because I think this is the perfect year to discuss the future of the Pro Bowl. Your thoughts on where the Pro Bowl is in terms of standing.
I think the Pro Bowl is it's there. I think just as it's like a reward for players who do well, just to be able to go to Hawaii or Orlando and have a nice vacation and like chill out. Like the actual game is pretty boring, but like, you know, it's like it's like
It's like a
camp.
scrimmage game.
It's like, well, I think of it as like camp for like the
Summer
NFL's.
camp.
It's like summer camp for the NFL's best. Like the only thing
They should make it a flag football game.
Yes. The only thing they're missing is like a dunk tank. Imagine like Tom Brady like and like Russell versus Tom Brady. Tom Brady sitting in the dunk tank and Russell's like, I'm a dunk you, and he's just like he's throwing it at the dunk tank, or like it's like a passing target thing, and like if he gets enough in, it dunks the player or something.
Here's what you do.
Make it like a rivalry based thing, like where you have rivals from the game, like something like that.
Here's what you do. Okay, make it a flag football game. Air it on Nickelodeon and have actual slime.
Yes. Yes. Players get slimed. Coaches get slimed.
No, dude, I could just imagine. It's like, remember when remember that
You
game?
just took my idea and bumped it up to 100. I love this.
That's amazing.
Remember that game in Washington when it was raining so damn hard?
Yeah.
There was what's his name? Not Chase Young. Bosa, Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
He sacked whoever it was playing quarterback, and then he like goes and he
slides.
Yeah, like
it was Haskins, but
and it's just covered in mud.
In the water. I imagine guys would like do that.
Yeah, in the slime.
That would be funny.
Dude, if that was the Pro Bowl, everybody would watch it because that would be so entertaining. They'd be just like little kids running around with like
that'd be lit.
Just doing like just like flag football. Like it would be hilarious though, because you'd be like seeing these defenders like heat-seeking missile onto like quarterbacks, only just to, like grab the flag and be like, I got you.
I think you just took my idea and put it to 100 because that's my biggest thing. Make it a flag football game. And I think, have you ever watched like the American? So in the summertime on NFL Network, they normally do like the American Flag Football League.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
and like how they do the like you can only go at certain times and things like that. That's great. And I think that would be cool if they just aired on Nickelodeon or do maybe on Freeform since it's an ESPN exclusive, whatever the heck. But here's my biggest thing with the Pro Bowl. Another problem with the Pro Bowl is the parameters of qualifying for the Pro Bowl making the Pro Bowl less important. It makes All Pro. All Pro was the best parameter for how guys or who deserves to be at the top of the league in that particular year. In 2018, due to injury, guess who made the Pro Bowl in 2018?
Mr. Trubisky.
Mr. Trubisky.
Oh
yeah.
God.
So, and he was not good that year.
No.
Teddy Bridgewater also made a Pro Bowl one year as well.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah. Made a couple Pro Bowls. Some of them were accurate. But again, I feel that, yes, I think flag football is good. I love this Nickelodeon idea, actually. I think that's perfect. But I honestly feel like flag football is the way to go. Or let's just do it this year where we have an honor. Maybe we do Madden and just like say flip it.
Honestly, I'm kind of excited for the Madden because like I hope it's like the actual players like
it will be, yeah,
playing each other and just smack talking each other because I think that'll be hilarious.
Yeah. That's not even gonna be on ESPN. That's gonna be on like their social channels and stuff.
Yeah.
Like Twitch and whatever else.
So funny.
I think if we need to rethink the Pro Bowl. I think flag football is the perfect way to do it. And we need to rethink it now or else we're never going to rethink it. Also, players have said that Hawaii was much better than Orlando, and it was weird that we were in Orlando. That's been kind of a thing. It's also somewhat of a family event, too, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some UFC. I want to talk some Conor McGregor after that loss to Poirier yesterday. Brandon, is it time to reconsider if Conor is all in with the UFC now? After the loss.
Well, he definitely showed that you can't be a part-time fighter and prepare like a part-time fighter and expect to beat a full-time fighter like Poirier. I also think Conor is crazy to be talking smack to Khabib. Boy, you've got your ass kicked not once but twice by this man. I don't think you want him a third time.
What do you mean twice? They only fought. Well, I
Oh.
guess they only fought once, but
I think they fought twice.
no, they've only fought once. Khabib and him.
Oh, it was
Poirier
Diaz.
fought
It was
twice.
Diaz I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Now, Diaz, I would love a third round with Diaz if Conor was to commit to like a full-time training to fight Diaz a third time.
Here's the most interesting thing with him, too. Conor says he wants to fight a 6-fight schedule this year.
Ooh.
Which,
Jake Paul.
Yes, please.
Yeah, put Jake Paul, put Pacquiao in there.
See, I think the thing with Conor is like that was like an out of nowhere knockout. Like it just caught him and he was not paying attention.
I thought he striked well. I think that was the most, and that's what Conor's game is. That's why he was pretty good against Floyd. He's just a striker.
Yeah.
He striked well, but I think there is real merit to the conversation of, is it really worth Conor to fight anymore? Because let's be honest.
He doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to, but also I honestly think the fight game is kind of over him now.
Yeah.
Not only from a fight fan perspective, but also from a casual perspective.
Yeah.
He's not that interesting anymore.
He's not the draw that he once was.
And unfortunately for ESPN, that's unfortunate, but that's just the reality.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, if they were to say, oh, McGregor, Diaz, round 3, people are going to be like, yes, please.
Or Khabib.
I will watch that. Or Khabib, Diaz, round 2. Because
or
honestly,
Khabib, McGregor, yes.
We need Khabib McGregor after he jumped in the cage and had his goons attack him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if they want him to stay around UFC, I would say like give him a. Now, what I would love to see is McGregor become a commentator. I think that'd be hilarious. I would love McGregor on commentating. That would be so funny.
So good.
Imagine him commentating a fight that, like, I don't know, Diaz is fighting in, or Khabib's fighting in, or just like
Poirier's
fighting in.
Get me in here.
He's just like, oh, just these wimps, they're just terrible. Just imagine him like antagonizing these guys from the outside. That's what I would love.
Kind of like Cormier did at the end of his career too. Michael Chandler also was incredible. He's a guy that everyone in the MMA community knows from his time at Bellator. He's going to be another piece of that lightweight division that makes it even more strong than it's been. I think the main thing with this card that frustrated me was the whole ESPN Plus thing. Can we just admit that this was a failure?
Yeah.
Can we just admit that this idea of putting pay-per-views on ESPN Plus was stupid?
Yep.
Why do you feel it's as stupid as I feel it is?
Because it's opening it up for problems with it not working.
Yeah. Like we saw on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's ESPN. It should work, but also, I've been pleading to Dana White on this show to do this. We had a card on ABC last week.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it did rating wise. I imagine not well, as it was during the football stuff. But imagine this card on ABC. The numbers it would draw would outweigh pay-per-view.
Yeah.
By a mile. Shane, I bet you would even watch it.
Probably not.
If it was on ABC.
Really? Even if it was free.
Even if it was completely free on ABC and it's McGregor.
Versus who?
Versus Poirier. Even that you would watch.
Is McGregor not? See, here's the real question. For someone who's a casual like you, Shane, is McGregor a draw still, like as a name?
Bless you. Do you feel like McGregor's a draw for you when you think Conor McGregor and you see him on a card? You're like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, but it's not so much because he's a good fighter, but it's more because, oh, what's this clown up to now? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
See, that's why I say I want to see him
Yeah.
on commentary. Because he's so antagonistic and he's so, like, he talks so well that, like,
Yeah.
either I want to see him on commentary or I want to see him go to WWE. Because, like, he
WWE
talks
McGregor. Oh,
so
God.
good.
That would be funny.
Like,
Or AEW would get him too.
yeah,
maybe.
something like that. But I mean, thinking about UFC in the future, I mean, we were talking about how they go off, they just end up taking off in a jet and go into the moon. I mean, we got Overeem versus Volkov. We got Usman defending his belt against Burns at UFC 258. We got Derek Lewis again at Fight Night 180.
We finally get that
185.
Umans Birds fight. That took forever.
Then we got 186 is lame. Then we got 259 where it's Blachowicz versus Adesanya.
Oh, dang. I love it.
And then we got Nunez finally defending her belt versus Megan Anderson.
Megan Anderson. That's gonna be lit.
And then fast forward 3 fights, we get the fight I've been looking forward to for so freaking long. Francis Ngannou finally gets his hands on Stipe Miocic.
Oh, God.
For the belt.
We might have to do a post show for that fight.
Whoo! Either that's going to be a very short fight or that's going to be a bloodbath.
Again, I think part of it is this whole ESPN Plus thing for me. Yeah, those fights are good. But again, like the fact that this is something I've had a problem with for boxing and UFC for a long time. I just feel like it being on pay-per-view is even harder now with ESPN Plus, DAZN. It's like, It's not, it makes the product less interesting, even for someone like me who loves it. Do you feel the same way?
Well, you say it's harder to find. It's actually easier to get because it's cheaper than
It got more expensive. It got more expensive now.
It's not more expensive than a $60 pay-per-view. Like behind like the regular pay-per-view price. Like if you think about it, you're paying like what, like $15 for like ESPN Plus, like
right. But on top of that, you're paying like, what is it, $70 for the pay-per-view? It's like you're just paying ESPN Plus, and you're paying ESPN Plus monthly, and you're paying for the
pay-per-view. That's true. I forget about the fact that you have to pay for the pay-per-view as well as for
ESPN Plus. ESPN Plus and the pay-per-view's got a price hike.
Yeah, see, that's dumb. I would like, if you're gonna put it on ESPN Plus, make it free,
or make us pay ESPN Plus and give us the fights on ESPN Plus,
or give like, let us just pay through like ESPN Plus, like just let us pay it through ESPN. Like, okay, we'll sign up for the Fight Pass or something or whatever. At this point, it's better to just buy to just subscribe to UFC Fight Pass. Like,
true, like Fight Pass is probably even better. But like even then, it's like, but again, it goes back to the problem that I have. It's like, this is why the NFL is king too. The NFL, guess what? They don't care about. I mean, not that they would care about pay-per-view models and stuff, but all of their content's not even on cable.
Right.
It's on local TV.
Yeah.
And then UFC just got a taste of that with the fights on ABC. Again, imagine a pay-per-view card on ABC.
Yeah.
It will just do numbers.
I would love to know what the numbers were for the well, here's the problem. I don't think you couldn't put a regular pay-per-view card originating from America on ABC because it would probably cross over with it would the timing. Like, for example, if the card starts at 7, that's prime time slot for ABC.
Right. For like basketball or whatever. But even then, how about just put it on ESPN then?
Right.
Like, why wouldn't people watch it on ESPN? Like, I don't understand. So we're gonna put the prelims on ESPN because of course we are, to get people to buy the pay-per-view. But why not just put the whole card on ESPN? Like, and let's not get
true,
twisted.
Because we're already paying for the TV, like,
right, for the cable package. But not only that, here's the thing: the pay-per-view model is dying. Do you really think? Now, they don't entirely release the numbers, but do you really think the numbers were that good for this fight? I imagine they weren't.
Well, here's the thing. This is another situation where Vince McMahon was very smart people made fun of him when he came up with the WWE Network, where originally he did a pay-per-view model for WWE pay-per-views, and it was $60 a pay-per-view. He made WWE Network where you get all this, like, it's basically Fight Pass for WWE.
And it's amazing, by the way.
And
WWE Network's amazing.
It's $9.99 a month. You get all the pay-per-views for free. You're paying $9.99 a month. You get all this content.
Why can't?
That's how and they've drawn in millions of people using the subscription service.
Why can't ESPN Plus do that?
I don't know.
So many people buy ESPN Plus. I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. It's stupid. Whatever. It's dumb. Let's see. What else are we gonna get to here? NBA. The trade. Let's get to the Harden trade. A couple weeks in. What are your guys' impressions of the Harden trade? Shane, you go first.
I mean, has anything really happened with it yet? Really? I mean,
He looks pretty happy on.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's the discussion is all Harden, obviously, but I mean, there were a lot of other people involved in this trade as well who are making impacts on their other team, and I think that's more interesting personally.
Mm-hmm. Like a VO, Victor Oladipo.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the even more interesting aspect of the fact that a man's life might have been saved.
Yeah, Carousel.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that was he has a mass in his kidney,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, one in a million chance, something like that. But anyways.
Yeah. Pretty wild though. Dang.
Yeah.
It look honestly from all the reports I've seen, it's looking pretty good. Like he's out indefinitely, but it looks like he'll be fine. So
that's good.
Prayers to him for that. But that's very lucky. And by the way, Karras has been balling out this year, so and he's gonna ball out even more in Indiana.
Yeah.
My one thing with Brooklyn, oh God, they cannot defend anybody. Yeah. Holy smoke, they cannot defend anybody.
They really can't. And it's horrible. They also lost like all their depth pretty much with that trade.
They got rid of everything.
They basically said, "Here's our depth. We'll take Harden."
Yeah.
Which I think is going to end up biting them in the butt because you need depth in this league. You just do.
That's why the Lakers look really nice. It's because of their depth.
And that's what's allowing the Raptors to get back into things.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're finally figuring out their bench work and their substitutions and who plays where and who gets what time, and they're starting to come back. They're like 7-9 now.
Yeah, I mean in the East, you sort of expect that.
Yeah, but they started out pretty rough.
Yeah, it was bad. Milwaukee too has been interesting. I was watching a bit of Milwaukee this week. They look really similar for the past 2 years, and I look at that and I go, yeah, Brooklyn and them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Looks really likely, but the only reason Milwaukee is going to be in those games for however long, 6 or 7, that's definitely going to go 6 or 7. It's only because the Nets defense stinks. Yeah. It's not because Milwaukee is at any way improved, even with Drew Holiday. Shane, you're nodding your head. Yes. Why you feel the same way with Milwaukee?
Yeah. They, especially with Giannis, they just score tons, and I mean, with a team like the Nets, I think they're, a bit egotistical. They're very focused on, shooting a lot, making it look good, and looking flashy and all that. So defense, I feel like, kind of gets swept under the rug a bit, But but yeah, I mean that'll be, I think, what ends up making the series competitive. It's just a matter of, how will the supporting pieces in Milwaukee play and react, But that's a long ways down the road. So
yeah. I think that Harden trade was good in the sense that I think the chemistry, especially between Harden and Durant, is great and has always been pretty good. That's been a big surprise, but yeah, defensively it's lacking. I also have one more thing before we get to the NHL stuff. This is kind of a fun topic. I told you guys about this earlier in the week. So, of course, the Biden administration, congrats to them. Very excited to see what they do. But this is not a political-based discussion. This is more of a media-based discussion. So on Tuesday, I was watching some of the press briefings. And I was like, dang it, I'm bored. I'm seriously so bored watching these press briefings. I'm like, why is that? Because the press briefings feel like an NFL press conference minus Dan Campbell's or an NBA presser, an NHL presser. The reason why is because like the media is just asking the same questions over and over in different ways, and the press secretary is like, she kind of says the same thing or kind of repeats the same thing. And also with this administration, it's like, oh yeah, if you don't know the answer, don't speculate. It's kind of like a coach telling a player or a coach saying, ask the player, don't ask me, and do you guys feel the same way that it feels super similar, but also like, what do you think this means in the grand scheme of media, in any perspective, politics, sports? Why do you think this is the way in which these press conferences work is so commonplace? Press conferences, press briefings. Like, why do you think they feel so similar?
Well, because, I mean, they're all beyond like that one, juicy question that they give great answers for. I mean, it's all really just kind of blowing smoke. Like, it's not, they just go on and on about the same old thing, like you said, and it's just kind of like, okay, I've already heard this. I don't care,
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like in any given day, if there's only so much you can ask somebody about whatever issue it is, So, anyways,
Brandon, your thoughts on how all these pressers are very similar?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much same thing Shane said. Like, it's like in any media availability situation, people ask the same question. They want an answer. They're going to keep asking the same questions day after day. And if you have nothing new to say, you're going to say, I don't know. I'll ask. I'll find out later. It goes the same thing, whether it's politics, whether it's working media for a company, whether it's PR, whether it's NBA, NHL, golf, whatever. It's all basically the same thing in a way.
yeah.
It's such an interesting thing for me because like, yeah, the formulas are so similar, and yeah, you're gonna get a soundbite once in a while. Most of it is just sort of the same thing, and that's probably a good thing ultimately for both parties in some ways. Especially after it seems like the news have gotten a lot calmer just as a whole. But yeah, it makes some of them just super boring and not as interesting. Not saying that I wouldn't enjoy being in a press conference. I think it's a lot on the reporter to just find ways to ask questions that can be appealing, sort of like doing an interview like we have done in the past. I think that's something a little bit more that I would like to see from the media corps. But obviously I would enjoy doing press conferences. But it's just sort of this or ultimately it's this sort of technique of what it is that is so appealing to me, but it also is like makes it so it's almost less important than I think it ever has been, just because the amount of times someone says a certain soundbite just it doesn't occur as much as we normally would think.
Yeah.
Brandon, to finish up, you want to talk about this trade that we had this week in the NHL? Kind of a big one.
Yeah. So the NHL had a big trade between the Winnipeg Jets and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And people were in the NHL, people were shocked because the trade was Laine for
Patrick Laine
for Jean-Pierre Dubois.
Or Dubois, yeah.
And basically it's swapping the best player on both teams. However, both these players were like disgruntled. They
really
wanted
upset
out
with their situations.
I think honestly it kind of helps each team because it gives a little bit of a boost. But
Yeah, I think this is a great trade.
yeah, definitely. It's kind of interesting though because they don't get to play for a couple weeks because they have to go through quarantine.
Mm.
And also that one of them's going to Canada.
Yeah, I was a little shocked that the Canadian government was down with trades. Because they don't let people in.
But in this case, they have to.
I think in this case,
something I would hear.
I think in this case, it's a situation where it's like they're staying in Canada once they're in.
Yeah.
So technically, it's a 14-day quarantine.
Yeah, no, you can go there if you stay longer than 2 weeks.
You have to go there. You have to go through a 14-day quarantine. Like basically, they're not saying you can't come in. Like you can fly in, you can't drive in. But well, technically, I could go there because I'm a Canadian citizen.
You chilling?
I'm straight chilling, but I would have to do a quarantine. But it's interesting because
I would just dig a tunnel underground and go that way.
It kind of screwed me over a little bit in fantasy hockey though, because I had Dubois. I have Dubois.
Oh dang!
So yeah.
Yikes. Is he gonna be eligible for an IR slot? Probably though.
I don't know. Maybe.
Probably will be.
Should check on that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes this interesting, just from an overall sports perspective, it's like here's two guys that hate their situations. Let's swap them.
Right.
Like, how often does that happen, if at all?
Not often.
Especially when they're just like superstars. It's like kind of crazy. And like, Laine in particular has been with the Jets.
Yeah.
I don't know for how long. He's kind of been their mainstay for a long time.
I mean, Laine was their big guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Sundin got traded from Toronto to Vancouver.
Yeah.
It was like, what?
Yeah.
How dare you?
It's interesting that the Blue Jackets GM said that this trade's been in works for a long time. I think after Dubois, and this is part of the reason why I don't like John Tortorella. He just benched the dude.
Yeah.
So benched him in the first period. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's I don't know. It's going to be interesting for both teams. There are two teams that are very competitive in the league, of course. Definitely contenders. So it's going to be something interesting to watch. Anything else before you finish up?
Nope, today? I think that's it.
Pretty much.
Pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. That's all. All right.
You lie.
Wait a second.
You lie. Pineapple is amazing on pizza.
Pineapple is amazing on pizza. We're going to have
this.
It's incredible.
Not today. We're not having this argument today, but we'll have it.
We'll have it. We'll have it.
Do you have any final thoughts? I just popped in my mind randomly. So
you're false. You're a lunatic,
dude. It's incredible. What you on about?
We're not having this argument tonight, though.
We're not.
Well, I mean, pineapple on pizza was invented in Canada, so I guess that makes sense for Brannan. But
for me, you're like
Robert, you don't have an excuse.
All right.
Or am I the uncultured one in this equation?
I think a lot of people would agree with you, but
I wonder what the data is on that. We'll have to reset this conversation after this
for another time.
Yeah, so we'll be off next week. Pro Bowl again, a week off, just enjoying ourselves as we get ready for Super Bowl week. We'll be back the Monday after the Super Bowl, I believe Monday or Tuesday. Give you guys a full recap of Super Bowl Sunday. We'll also talk about the halftime show. The weekend should be super fun as well. And everything else, the commercials and all that stuff. So it's also the Super Bowl after shows are really fun because of that piece as well. So very excited to get a chance to do that the day after. So that's going to be super fun. And we will see you guys then. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.